And I wanted to talk about what it really means to do advocacy for your community versus plan, feel me? And the reason why I put it that way is that, I'm really getting sick and tired, yo. And some of you might be familiar with me on certain things. Like, yeah, I know what you're about to say, but nah, peep me though. Right now we living in a society and a political environment where everything is charged up. Everything is charged up. Everybody's an activist. Everybody's speaking up. Everybody's awake. Everybody's talking about systems. Everybody's talking about representation and diversity and bias and all that other shit, right? And I'm clear about a few things. What I am clear about is that white liberals, the white left, and even white moderates have peeped the landscape. They see the general cultural shift that's going on. And so instead of waiting to be attacked and waiting to be called out, a lot of them have engaged in a practice that many refer to as incorporated resistance. Meaning that what these people do in these companies, corporations, institutions, and structures, what they do is that instead of combating or debating about these things, they just they grab you closer, they give you money, they prop you up, and they say that they support you, which seems counterintuitive, if you aren't necessarily supportive of an issue. But what it really is that if you fund your so-called enemy, then your enemy is no longer your enemy. And then that means you can control what they say, what they do, how they act, because they're accountable to you because you control their purse strings. And I bring that up because I think a lot of people in my age group are not really, and I mean, when I say my age group, I'm really talking about late 20s, mid 30s. A lot of us, we're in the throes of our careers, professional careers. Some of us are professionals, like some of us are in the health field. Some of us are teachers, Kelly. Some of us are teachers. Some of us are, full-time nonprofit professionals. Some of us are in foundations. We run the gamut, right? And so a lot of us are trying to figure out how to have an impact in our daily work, like our daily routine. Like, how do we impact systemic change from the place that we sit in? And so some people are like, they don't really, if you've never really been engaged in that, like if you haven't really done that at a large level, then most of the time what we know is what white people give us. We know what white people show us. And so what white people show us is we see large companies, corporations giving out money, offering platforms, offering solidarity. We take it unwittingly. And then we, go on their platforms or, take their resources and then claim it as our own. And then when we talk to our community, we're saying that we're taking their shit and we're really flipping it for something else. And that we're not accountable to them. What we're really doing is that we're taking their stuff, we're sneaking off into the corner, and then we're really... But let me tell you. A few things we got to break down here. Number one, if you are a person that is actively trying to impact the world from the place you sit, that's fantastic and phenomenal. What I would caution you on is that I would caution you when you look up certain folks and you see certain things happening and you just kind of jump on the wave, hopping on the wave, because there's lots of waves. There's waves every fucking way. But no one's examining where the current that created the wave came from. I'm going to say it again. No one's examining the current that created the wave that people are riding. So many people, let me give you an example. A lot of people are, like Twitter activists, like hopping on every issue, like talking about COVID and, how we need to support this group, that group, and, but no one's really thinking about, like, how do we build institutions and systems that sustain our community? We're just kind of hopping on the wave. And so what I would encourage you to do is to spend more time thinking about the substantive ways that you can actually impact your community, not just from social media. Like, if social media did not exist, a lot of this bullshit, there wouldn't be incentives to do a lot of this bullshit. But social media has kind of distorted reality for a lot of people, especially now because we don't have an opportunity to really talk to each other. This is probably the only time I get to talk to y'all. That's the only time I had to talk to y'all in the past several months. But, usually I'm used to being able to talk to black people in communities face to face. And there's none of this. Like, none of this shit matters to average working class black people, because a lot of us aren't even on these platforms to even have the conversation or dialogue. And so I think a lot of us had the game fucked up. We're spending too much time in social media, corporate media. Then we're looking at ourselves, thinking we should do more. But then we hop on the wave, and then the wave ends up being some bullshit. And then when the wave crashes, then we're back at square one, wondering what the fuck were we doing for the past several months. So I would just caution you, in general, like, spend more time thinking about supporting local grassroots advocacy and local grassroots organizations, because those are actually the things that can make sustainable change. And even if you can't do much, your support of those types of institutions will actually carry over into the future. And so don't think about it like charity. It's not charity. Your community is not, you don't give charity to your community. It's about freedom. It's about black liberation struggle. Like, it's about actually trying to overcome the systems that are oppressing us every day. So it's not about charity. Like, if you go into the hood, like, black people are living, struggling, a lot of us, but living. So black people don't need charity. White people got lots of charity, don't they? They got whole institutions dedicated to being charitable to black people. And still, here we are, living in this country 400 years later, like, mostly the same conditions, and in many cases worse conditions.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Siri, don't be spying on me. It's my watch. So that's where we at. Another thing is that what you also have is that you have the rise of a lot of these so-called activists. A word that I hate, that I find corny, that I think is weak, that I think is, like, really an overused term. I think it's a term that people like to use because it sounds good. It's a term I think that people find familiar, so we use it a lot. And no one really questions when someone's being called an activist or what an activist means. And so there's a lot of so-called activists in quotation marks. And these so-called activists in quotation marks they have no base. They're not connected to community. When I say they, let me be specific. What I mean is, you have a lot of so-called activists, right? They have organizations. Quote that too. Okay. So organizations. And they have organizations where they are serving the community or doing some kind of project or speaking up and speaking out. But then when you look at the composition of the institution, and you look at where the resources come from for that institution, and you look at the people that they're actually serving and claiming to speak for, you start seeing a lot less black people, and you start seeing a lot more white people. You start seeing a lot more grant money. You start seeing a lot less community-based building. The people that they're saying they're speaking for, which in many cases is working class black people, these folks are, like, they're not around. And if they are around, they're props being used to say, like, hey, they're a community voice. But these folks are just kind of props. And it ends up being just your kind of, mediocre milquetoast effete, rhetorician around revolutionary politics. Somebody who can, and in much simpler words, a motherfucker that can talk a lot of slick game, but ain't really got no plan to support our community in the long term. So these motherfuckers are allowed to just carry themselves as activists. And see, what makes me mad is, I don't correct people when they say I'm an activist, because, that's what people know. And I'm not about to be like, I am not an activist. Do not call me. There's a disrespectful, whatever. It's whatever. But it's like, I do something very specific. You know what I mean? Like, I do something very specific that has very particular goals in mind. So, but I feel like when someone says you're an activist, what the fuck that mean? Like, anybody, if the definition we're going with is like anybody can be an activist and support what's happening in their community, okay, great. But then what the fuck are we actually using to say that person is effective? To say who appointed them as a leader? Who said that they were relevant enough to elevate? The answer to those questions should always be black people, but it's almost never black people. And the reason why I'm bringing these types of black folks up is because right now there is a wave that is already been created. There's a wave now of a lot of different so-called black activists who are only accountable to white people. in the nonprofit and foundations and philanthropic sector. These are leaders that are being crafted for us by white people. And then they're going on television and going on different platforms claiming to be activists and claiming to be leaders. And then the types of things they say that they do is kind of like general. Just general. Like, it's like, I advocate for my community. It's like, well, okay, well, what do you do? And see, that's a question motherfuckers don't like. That's a question I love. Because I think you should have to tell a motherfucker what you do and what you're doing and what you did. Okay? And see, I'm not even talking about DeRay. I mean, usually I would talk shit about DeRay, but I'm not talking shit about DeRay. I'm actually talking about this newer class. Like, people that are around our age that saw DeRay, that see DeRay, and now are chasing that formula. But now white people have caught on. And so now they're seeking out black people with a diminished sense of self. They're seeking out black people with low self-confidence and low self-concept. They're seeking out black people with no knowledge of their history, heritage, and culture. They're seeking out black people who are unaware of the political landscape, who have very little knowledge about how to actually move things and get things done. Because those are the types of black people that you can control and exploit. And typically, the types of black people, these types of so-called activists, the kind of people that they are, is usually the kind of black people that, maybe they didn't, maybe they were alienated from other black people. Maybe they didn't get a lot of support from other black people. So now they're being chosen by white folks and they feel special. So they're getting funded and supported and getting money and getting resources and booyah. Next thing you know, they're on television and in the newspaper and in groups and coalitions and calling themselves, and they have their fresh bio on their website and their LinkedIn page and on Facebook with their carefully crafted black and white photographs of them at marches doing this, with the face paint and the let's not forget about the murals that the white people do on the ground, on the streets. Like, you get all that too. You get all of that. It's all the tropes, all the nice, shiny, glittery, lovely white people shit. But when it comes down to the substance, that's how much. See how much space is in between my fingers? You can't even see it. That's how much substance that's there. My thing is, when people say I'm an activist, I realize with black people, like, that most of the time means I'm at a disadvantage. Because most niggas, when you say I'm an activist, most niggas like, yeah, alright. You feel me? Like, most niggas is probably like, yeah, alright, you're an activist. Alright, whatever. But see, that's not who we talking to. These black people are talking to white folks. And they're like, I talked to him. He's really doing, and they don't even know what the fuck they're doing. They're just like, yeah, he told me that, they're on the community doing work. Yeah, doing stuff in the community with the blacks, But with black people, you ever met a nigga from over west in Gilmore Homes trying to tell them about you an activist? For the uninformed, Gilmore Homes is a housing project located in West Baltimore. And lots of poor and working class black people. It's almost 100% poor working class black people. And but you ever been somewhere and been like, I'm an activist, yo? You know what I expect a nigga to say in response? What the fuck? All right, cool. That's what's up. Sound good, but what the fuck? So what you do, yo? So I feel like with niggas like that, it's like, I gotta be specific. I gotta say, like, so this is what I do. I go out and I change laws to benefit my community. And this is how I do it, and this is what I've done, and this is the kind of shit that affects you, and this is the kind of shit that affects us as a community, and this is why I do what I do, and you tell me if that's useful. Now, most black people would be like, that's cool. They may not know all the way what I do, per se. They may ask more questions. They may even have some criticisms. But see, that conversation needs to happen that way every single fucking time. Whether you're 18, 25, 35, 55, that's how the conversation needs to go. If I'm doing this same shit and I get a little bit more money and I'm a little bit more, I don't know, I guess I have a little bit more profile much later in life, and I meet a 20-year-old black man who walks up with me like, man, you ain't doing shit, yo. You call yourself an activist, like niggas calling you an activist. I don't even know what the fuck you do. I could be offended, but you know what? Based on the living conditions of black people in this country, why wouldn't a nigga think that? So it's my job to spend time talking to him, to make sure that he understands who I am, what I do, and if he doesn't give a fuck, then it's my job to make him give a fuck. No matter how poorly he treats me. Now, that don't mean I gotta take abuse, you feel me? But sometimes, like, black people live in abusive conditions. The conditions are criminal. This country is criminal. The leadership is criminal. You know, white supremacy is criminal. It ain't his fault. He don't give a fuck about what you talking about. So you got to explain to black people what it is, what you do, and how you do it, and why it's relevant. I say that because these so-called activists that I was just talking about before see that process as violent. You know, that's, that's too much. You know, I exist. My voice matters. I mean something because I spoke. You have to listen to me. I matter. It's like, yeah, so do I. So do Trump. So do the fucking, yeah, I mean, who the fuck? Yeah, human beings are important, motherfucker. Don't nobody have to give a damn about your opinion. Exactly. Everybody wants to be a fucking celebrity. And you know what? Celebrity worship is part of the fucking problem here. Because again, if it's about advocacy and it's about organizing and it's about transformation, then that means not everybody's going to like you. And that means you ain't going to get invited every damn place. That means people going to look at you fucked up. And that means motherfuckers going to attack you and try to take you down if you're a threat. But if you're not a threat, yeah, you can post your artisanally crafted selfies of the protest you did last week, with your Asada Shakur quote in your shirt, huh? With the dashiki you bought, made in China though, because you don't buy Ghanaian fabric. But anyway, my point is that these are the types of black people that are being called our leaders, and that we need to stop allowing white people to prop up these so-called leaders in our community. Because they're not, because activism is a term of art. Activism is a term of art. It's just some shit that niggas is saying. And see, if we really want to go deep, on it, like niggas is talking about, you know, like that quote from Asada Shakur that everyone uses, it is our duty to fight for our freedom, it is our duty to win. And where is Asada? Exactly. To the question, where's Asada? Exile, my nigga. Why? Because they falsely accused her of murder, my nigga. She's in exile in Cuba. She can't come back. Talk about a fucking revolutionary. You over here drinking your Starbucks talking about, yeah, you know, yeah, I'm going to go to the rally today. I'm going to really speak up. Because my voice matters. Man, get the fuck out of here. Americans, yo. It's not even just these kinds of black folks. Americans, yo. It's like, yo, you know what niggas be doing across the planet when there's revolution? Is blood in the streets. Okay? Niggas talking to me about, yeah, we painted a mural and it was an act of defiance. Nigga, you gotta what? Some paint on the ground? Get the fuck out of my face. I digress. Anyway, my point is we gotta be able to vet these black folks and to stop allowing white people to prop up the leaders in our community. Just because white folks give you a grant don't make you a leader. And just because you got trauma don't make you a leader either. Matter of fact, now that we talking about that, a lot of black people think is that, I've suffered a traumatic experience, meaning that I've suffered from racism. Or I've suffered from intercommunal violence with black people, meaning black people teased me, black people treated me fucked up, white people said fucked up shit to me. So because of that trauma, you know what you should do? Call me a leader and then give me money for it. If you don't, I'm going to call you out. Weak. That shit is weak. Trauma does not qualify you for leadership. You do not just get to say I'm black and that's it. I'm black and that's all. I'm a leader. Because you know what? You know who lets you do that? White folks. I guarantee you, next time you're around some white liberals and, you know, you're having a conversation, like, just start talking about trauma and your experiences. White people eat that shit up. They love it. When we start talking about how hard life is being black in America, white people love that shit. White people love that shit. Yeah, so tell me how crazy it was when you lived in the ghetto. Tell me about it. Tell me about how horrible it was when you were called nigger in the 12th grade. Tell me about it. It's like a delicious steak for them. Okay? Shit is fucking sick. It's fucking gross. It's fucking disgusting. But that's the kind of shit they like. And that's the kind of black people that they're funding. That love that. That love that in exchange. Yes, it's hard. It was hard growing up in the ghetto as a black. You know, when I walked to school and I saw the dilapidated houses, I just thought that I had to rise above it as a Negro. And now I advocate for my community. And now I have an alphabet soup of identities. And now you must give me grant money for it. The fuck out of here. The fuck out of here. It may sound, now I get it. Not everybody on here may agree with me. Some of you may be, someone may be looking at me like, Adam, yo, you're a fucking asshole. You're a major fucking asshole. Yes. So there's that. But because I just don't have time for it. Let me tell you about me, yo. Because I've been around this motherfucker doing what I'm doing for the past 10 years, okay? I don't have those traditional experiences, those traditional traumatic experiences. And I don't, like, as a black person, like, you know how some black people, I didn't grow up very poor. I grew up in, like, you know, working class, middle class means, okay? I went to college. I got a college degree. I did a lot of shit in college. I traveled a lot in college because I was a debater. Okay, I had a pretty good fucking life. By comparison to my peers, a lot of my peers, I have a pretty decent life and a pretty decent experience as a black person in this country. And I'm also light-skinned. So because I'm light-skinned, I didn't receive a lot of the treatment that a lot of other black people receive when they're in certain spaces, because being lighter means you carry certain privileges with it. And so there's certain things I've never had to experience, certain things I don't understand that other black people have had to go through. But you know what that means? That means I need to just understand what other black people are talking about, so that way it doesn't have to be my own experience. It means I just have to understand, to empathize, and to work on behalf of the black people who have experienced those things, and work with those black people that have experienced those things. In addition to that, in the first 5 years of me doing LBS, I was fucking broke, dude. I was fucking broke. Are you fucking kidding me? I was teaching in middle school. I was teaching middle schoolers, rather, not teaching in middle school. I was teaching middle schoolers. I was in graduate school, and I had no money. I spent a lot of time going to community events there's hundreds of fucking things I did during that time frame that most people don't know about, and even now that people don't know about, that I was doing. I got no money for it. I got no grant money for it. I got no clout for it. I got no press for it. Me and all my team, we spent all these years doing all that grunt work, all that community building. And in the midst of that, we were doing legislative advocacy. And so while we were advocating to change what is known as the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights in Maryland, which gives police privileges over regular residents, while we were already doing that before an uprising, after Mike Brown, but before Baltimore's uprising, 2015 comes, all this shit starts happening, and then people start asking, like, okay, well, let's talk about legislative advocacy, and then we just so happen to be the group doing it. And ever since then, I've experienced much more support from community and just other places for the work that I'm doing. But nowhere in there was it like, I need to go sell it to white folks. Like, I need to go give them the downtrodden Negro. Like, that's why I need to give them that vibe. I need to go sell my trauma to white folks, so that way I can. Nah, black people appreciate honesty. Black people appreciate honesty. Black people appreciate you being yourself. Even if they don't all the way agree, when we don't all agree, black people appreciate it when you're just yourself and you come as you are and you don't try to front. Because when you start fronting, that's when niggas be like, all right, yo, you bluffing, you trying to sell me a bad bag of goods, my nigga. Like, that ain't, you know. So I never try to pretend to be something that I'm not. I've always been the same exact motherfucker. And see, what people don't understand is that since I've been able to do a lot of that groundwork, that unsexy, exhausting, sometimes brutal fucking groundwork, now I get to actually have an influence on things that happen in my city and my state. But see, what niggas want to hit the cheat code. You ever play Mortal Kombat and you had to put the cheat code in to get the secret characters? Or Mortal Kombat 1, you had to put in the cheat code to get blood instead of sweat. That's what niggas want to do. A, B, back, down, forward, B, B, A, A. That's what niggas want. Niggas want the cheat code. Niggas want the cheat code. Niggas want to be able to just hit the button and do the thing, and then they're a leader in their community, and they get the fast track past all the hard shit, and just get to do all the fun stuff. Get to be a celebrity. Fuck being a celebrity, yo. Fuck being a celebrity. Fuck it. It's shit not real. Anybody that's calling themselves an activist and walking around like they're a celebrity, it's like, nigga, you ain't a celebrity. Then you're not doing it. You're not doing it then. You're not doing it right, my guy. Yeah, I did memorize the cheat code. Don't judge me. But yeah, there's no cheat code. There's no cheat code to this shit. You know what I'm saying? And you know what the distinguishing factor between a motherfucker that's really about that shit and somebody who's just an activist is that is a base. You got to have a base. So when I say base, think about it from an electoral standpoint. Trump has a base, meaning regular, ordinary people that support his shit, that support the things he espouses, that supports his perspective and point of view, financially support him, politically support him, people that respond when he talks, people that will move when he says so. He has a base. You know who's black and has a base? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from the Nation of Islam. He has a base. There are people that financially support his institution, that are a part of his organization and his religious institution. He probably has the largest black-controlled black institution in the world. I don't think it's an understatement to say that. And when he talks, regular black people that aren't involved in politics, that may not even care a lot about this mainstream political bullshit, listen. And see, niggas without bases, they be the ones claiming to talk for black people, but they really don't have anybody that really supports their shit. What do you mean, Adam? What are you talking about? I don't get it. What do you mean there's regular, ordinary black? There's regular black people that support folks. What do you mean? Come on. What I mean is that there should be black people who, when you speak, listen, and when you say move, move. That is a base. Physical flesh and blood people, not this shit. You know what Twitter will have you believing? That people have a base? Okay? There's influencers on here, on this platform, and others, that got like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 followers. Some of them closer to 1 million followers that call themselves activists. And they can't do anything. And have you ever wondered why that was the case? Like, how come, like, if there's all these famous activists and celebrity activists, why can't they get laws changed? Because they don't have a base. And if they do have a base, it's white folks. I bet if you did a racial breakdown of a lot of these black people with large platforms, and not just DeRay, because DeRay, you know, people beat up on him, and I beat up on him a lot, and it's justified. But if you look at people like DeRay, you did a racial breakdown of who actually follows them on those platforms, I would venture to guess it would probably be More than 70% white people. And that's because of the disparities on these platforms that really only 2 to 3% of the entire country is actually on these platforms. And an even smaller percentage drives the majority of the conversation. So these things are not real. And people talk about social media as if it's that. And it's not that. Like, just because a lot of people follow you don't mean shit. I'd rather have a loyal 50 than a random 500. Because those 50 are going to support everything I do, and they're going to make sure that when I speak and I say that there's things that need to be done in community, they'll move on it. That's a base. 500 random niggas who don't give a fuck about what I'm really talking about half the time? It's not a base. It's not a base. Come on. Come on. You got to be able to see where you got to be able to see like where the differences are. Because you know, one thing that does frustrate me is that in Baltimore, at least, there's a lot of like people have me confused with other niggas. Yeah, somebody ever had you fucked up and confused? Say, oh yeah, you're just like so and so. It's like, you have me fucked up. You have me confused. No, sir, you have me confused. And you were offended because you're like, how in the hell could you ever think that yo was like me? You ever had somebody have you fucked up like that? People be having me fucked up all the time. Because people compare me to certain things and certain other groups that I'm like, see, it's cool that they exist. And I'm glad that they're doing what they're doing. And if they do good shit, then absolutely awesome. But I am not the same. And we are not the same. For that purpose. Like, not an ego thing. Because an ego thing is like, I'm better. My shit's more important. What I do is more valuable. Not the same. Because I feel like some people, like I have a base. People in my organization, we have a base. We have people that support us. Actual people. Other people, I'd rather not be petty and that petty tonight. Maybe another day. But there's other people where they don't have that kind of support. It's like, oh, you were on that panel. Oh, you were on the Zoom call. Oh, I saw you on CNN. I saw you on the local news last night. Ah, your tweet went viral. Ah, that video on YouTube. That's the kind of motherfuckers that, and it's like, these motherfuckers just be talking. They just be like, yickety yak yak bang, and all of a sudden it's like, well, they're activists in community. They're really influential.